What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. I'm your host, Matt Johnson here. I want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. I've got a loaded show on tap for you guys today, but first, I want to encourage you guys to scan that QR code to join today. Join Underdog Fantasy. Get in on all the great NBA action going on right now. Take advantage, guys, of $75 in bonus entries after playing your first $5 today. All you got to do is scan that QR code at the top of the page to get started. Let's jump right into things today, guys. I want to recap that gut-wrenching 113-110 loss to the Indiana Pacers last night. The Bulls went with a starting five in this game of Giddey, Coby White, Okoro, Modest, and Vooch. That's starting five we've become grown accustomed to since everyone's gotten healthy. That is a very solid starting five when they're at their best for the Chicago Bulls. Man, this was a hard one to get over, though. Modest was zealous. He made some career history there for himself. He had 13 first quarter points in this contest. That's the most he's scored in any quarter in his young NBA career. So good for Modest. Got off to a really fast start. Really didn't do much beyond that point, though. Hence why the Bulls were not able to pull away late in this game. We also saw, for the first time in a minute, Billy Donovan go back to using a double big lineup as they jumped into the second quarter last night, which is significant. I think Josh Giddey being back forced Billy to kind of move away from that. But with 4 games and 5 nights, Vooch and Jalen Smith have their minutes staggered to kind of stay fresh, and I like that move out of Billy. Jalen Smith, speaking of him, did extend his career-long streak of double-digit scoring games to 9 games in a row in this one. I mean, Jalen Smith, guys, need I say more about this player and the impact he's been for this ball club? He certainly is going to have a market on an expiring contract for the Chicago Bulls ahead of this trade deadline that we're now just 7 days away from. I just think when you look at this game, guys, the most frustrating part, if you're a Bulls fan, Indy has now won 12 games on the year, 3 of those coming against the Chicago Bulls. So a quarter of the Indiana Pacers win in a year that they have really, really struggled. Obviously, Tyrese Haliburton out for the year recovering from that devastating injury in the NBA Finals. But this Indiana Pacers team has not been the same this year. And the fact that a quarter of their wins have come against the Chicago Bulls, frankly, pisses me off. I know it probably pisses a lot of Bulls fans off. The Bulls were outscored 37-25 in the fourth quarter in this one. Again, failed to finish the contest strong. They were outscored 26-9 when you break it down in the final 7 minutes and 13 seconds of this game. This is almost like, as a Bulls fan watching this one, I know I felt this way, but it was like the Bulls were just clinging on for dear life there, eventually dropping this contest. A really frustrating loss as a fan. It's one of those that it really kind of makes you mad, kind of looking at the comments that AK is making in the last couple of days in terms of wanting to surround the core with assets at the trade deadline and basically calling themselves buyers, but then you're dropping games like this to teams with 11 wins on the year, now 12 wins on the year. It's really frustrating as a Bulls fan, and they have a really important stretch of basketball coming up now, and I'm going to get into the preview for this first of 3 in a row against the Miami Heat. This is the makeup game, guys. They will have a quick turnaround. They will host Miami Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, live on CHSN at the United Center. This, again, is the makeup game, guys, from the contest that was canceled back on January 8th due to that condensation buildup on the United Center floor. So the Bulls will get going against Miami. Miami is 3-2 in their last 5. They're fresh off of a 133-124 home loss to the Magic last night. So they themselves are also dipping in from a back-to-back here. This is the first of 3 straight, again, against the Miami Heat. Massive seeding implications at stake here. Prior to that February 5th trade deadline, the Miami Heat have been named a team to look out for in terms of pursuing Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'll get into that to kind of cap off our show. That was some massive news that dropped yesterday, but we'll get into that in a little bit here, guys. Jumping into the Underdog Fantasy segment today, guys. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right, and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at that first of 3 in a row against the Miami Heat, guys. I'm going to select Coby White to go higher than 20.5 points, and I'm going to go Andrew Wiggins lower than 14.5 points. I love this matchup for Coby White. I think he's going to have the ability to put up monster numbers against this Miami Heat bunch. And then Andrew Wiggins, I've seen it time and time again this year, but he just fails to get involved as much as you would think he would in this Miami starting five. I think that he has a good shot to go under 14.5 points. Second of a back-to-back, you're going to see Miami spread the ball around to guys like Bam, and you're going to want to see other guys. Jaquez is there, so I think Andrew Wiggins has a good shot to go under that total. I love the matchup for Coby, though, getting into that contest there. Use promo code BasketballFan, guys. You can score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5 there, guys. So, getting into, and this is a guy that I continue to stick by here, but Matas Buzelis is a player that I think when you look at him in the last 5 games, obviously it's been kind of sporadic in terms of the numbers. He's been the model of consistency, guys. This is a player who, he's really come on in his second year, obviously getting named to his second Rising Stars game in a row in his sophomore season, a great honor for him. But this guy is someone that you could really lean on in terms of these Underdog fantasy entries because of the consistency, and the market kind of has sat right where it stands on him. And that's where I think you could take advantage of his stat lines there. I mean, Wednesday against Indy, 20 points, 8 rebounds. He didn't have any assists in this one, but has been in double figures almost every single night, guys. And he is, a guy that you could take advantage of some of those markets on Underdog Fantasy. All you got to do, scan that QR code to join today. Get in on all the action. Get in on all the modest props that you could possibly find, because this guy is a money-making machine right now if you're playing on Underdog Fantasy, guys. So just looking again at his last 5 contests, he had a very solid night against the Boston Celtics on the D Rose retirement ceremony night. A little bit slower night against the Lakers. Overall, it was just a tough matchup for the Chicago Bulls, but in a night where the Bulls did put up a bunch of points, Matas only being at 11, 5, and 4 on the stat sheet was a little underwhelming. But you just look at his numbers dating back to that game against the Clippers on the 20th. This guy continues to score the basketball, and he is consistently kind of putting up those numbers. So again, jump in on all the modest props that you can find on Underdog Fantasy, guys. Use promo code BasketballFan. You get $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5 there, guys.
Must be 18 plus. 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. 19 plus in Colorado for some games. 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/play and get terms DFSTML for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8 or text from 467-369.
All right, guys, jumping into the betting preview for the Heat game. The first of 3 in a row against the Miami Heat. This is a big stretch of basketball for the Chicago Bulls here. You're going to want to take advantage of, in my mind, a total that is super inflated in this one. I think there's not much value on a side. The Bulls are a slight 1.5-point dog in this one. The Bulls sitting at minus 105 on the money lines. It's a very hard game to gauge from a side perspective because both teams are coming off a back-to-back, getting ready to play for they have 4 games in 5 nights for the Bulls. I just think when you look at this total of 240.5, I think given the fact that Miami is traveling to Chicago on a back-to-back, I think you're going to see this go. I would lean under here, guys. It's a high total. I get why it's a high total. Both teams like to push the pace. Both teams can score the basketball, but just given the circumstances of this matchup, I would really look heavily into this total. I'm not a big guy advocating always for leaning into a total this heavy, but I think there's a good opportunity here to see this thing go under 240.5, and I would certainly take advantage of that if you're looking to play this game. I lean the Miami Heat in this one in terms of a side to give you guys a side and some action on that. But it's hard because I think the Bulls match up so well against this Heat team. And there are so many great things to exploit when you look at how this Bulls team stacks up against Miami. But we'll see what happens, guys. That's just a quick betting preview. Now, to get into and to wrap up today's show, we have the monster news. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shams Charania has reported the last day or so, is looking, and his camp is finally looking to move out of Milwaukee. After 12 plus years with the organization, it's come to a point where both sides realize that it might be time to move on. This was massive breaking news. They're exploring trades for Giannis. Buckle up for a roller coaster of a 7-day stretch ahead, guys. The next week is going to be crazy in terms of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, this is a guy I've talked about dating all the way back to the May when this show first started, in terms of him potentially being moved this year, and here we are. This is going to be a lot of fun for NBA fans. In terms of teams that are interested right now and have been deemed as the front runners, none other than the Miami Heat, the team the Bulls will see the next 3 in a row. You got the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, they've been real interested on Kobe White. The T-Wolves are very active in the market, and they're certainly looking to add ahead of this deadline. That would be a monster addition next to Anthony Edwards. Knicks, and this was a team that I profiled a while back as a good suitor for them to go and grab Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think the Knicks are ready to win now. They're in championship mode. This would be, you send him to the Big Apple, man, that market would go crazy. Madison Square Garden would be absolutely electric adding a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then the Warriors, this comes as no surprise to me, looking to kind of pivot after Jimmy Butler tearing his ACL kind of puts them in flux here. I think they're trying to take advantage and to use up every last bit of Steph Curry's prime. I wouldn't say prime, but his good years. And then you got Al Horford. That's a team who's looking to make a splash potentially to stay in the race in the Western Conference. Adding Giannis to a team with Draymond and Steph Curry would be a good move for them, I think. But those are the teams among the serious suitors for Giannis. Giannis has informed the Bucks that it is, he believes it's time to part ways after 12 plus years together. So we shall see what happens. Now, the question I want to ask you guys and get into this, what would it take for the Bulls to land Giannis? This is kind of crazy. Everyone was kind of knocking Arturas Karnisovas for his comments a couple days ago. The Bulls said to be buyers now, wanting to add around the young core of Ayo Dosunmu and Modest Buzelis. Now, if you look at this, what would it take to land Giannis? It would definitely, getting salaries to match would be easy considering the Bulls have 8 guys on expiring contracts, including Vooch, Kobe, and Ayo. They also have 5 tradable first-round picks and Giddey and Modest. So if you really want to go all in on Giannis Antetokounmpo, I would say Giddey and Modest are both on the table. Anything is on the table if you want to land a mega superstar like Giannis. A trade for Giannis and the cost to acquire him would put tremendous pressure. However, if you look at this from a long-term perspective, more of a immediate factor, actually, they would put tremendous pressure on the front office in Chicago to add in free agency. You're not going to go get Giannis and just play with Giannis and hope that he can carry your team. No, you're going to look to add pieces around him. Guys, we've talked about it for weeks now, but the Bulls should sell up to this point. They should be sellers and look to build for the future. If you're really going to go all in on Giannis, this is this front office's opportunity to kind of go all in on the formula that they've really pushed the last couple of years. Go get Giannis and surround him in free agency in the coming years. The Bulls would have over $60 million in cap space to spend. So definitely an exciting thought if you're a Bulls fan. One can dream, right? I think that Giannis has always spoken highly of the Chicago market and what it means to him in the Chicago Bulls organization and just the Michael Jordan era and the history that comes with the Chicago Bulls organization. Man, would it be massive if the Bulls were able to somehow land a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. He would immediately become the face of this franchise and one of the faces of this city. We've seen Caleb Williams do it. We've seen Connor Bedard do it. We've seen Pete Kerr Armstrong do it. Why not have Giannis Antetokounmpo become the next face of Chicago? That would be unbelievable, guys. But again, seems like a bit of a long shot. Obviously, I listed those teams that have a decent shot to grab him, and that's Miami, Minnesota, the New York Knicks, and the Warriors. Look out for those four. But we're in for a wild ride over these next 7 days, guys, ahead of the 3 p.m. Eastern trade deadline on February 5th. So stay tuned for any information regarding Giannis Antetokounmpo on future shows here on Bulls Latest. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest. Again, scan that QR code, guys. Underdog Fantasy, plenty of great NBA action to get in on this week. You get $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5, guys, with the code BasketballFans. So thank you again for joining me today, guys. Your guys' support has been awesome, and thank you to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video once again. Everybody have a great rest of your Thursday, and we will see you guys next time.